Easements are a common, but often misunderstood aspect of real estate. Whether you're buying, selling, or simply owning property, it's essential to understand how easements might affect you and your property rights. In today's video, I'll walk you through the basics of easements, the different types, and how they can impact your real estate transactions. Let's start with a simple question. What is an easement? An easement is a legal right that allows someone to use part of your property for a specific purpose, even though they don't own the land. Importantly, an easement doesn't transfer ownership of the property. It just grants certain access or usage rights to another party. Easements can be granted to neighbors, utility companies, or even the public, depending on the situation. Easements are typically recorded with the local government, meaning they're part of the public record, and can affect the value and use of the property. Now, let's talk about some of the most common types of easements you're likely to encounter. One of the most common is a utility easement. These are easements granted to utility companies, such as electric, gas, or water companies, allowing them to install and maintain utility lines, pipes, or poles on your property. You've probably seen power lines running along a property or a utility pole in a yard. That's a typical example of a utility easement. Even though the equipment is on your property, the utility company has the right to access it to maintain or repair the service. Another common type is the right-of-way easement. This type allows someone, usually a neighbor, to cross over your property to access their own. For example, if your neighbor's driveway crosses a portion of your land to reach their house, that's a right-of-way easement.
It's important to understand that while your neighbor has the right to pass through, they don't have the right to make changes to the property or use it for purposes not specified in the easement agreement. There are also conservation easements, which are a bit different. These are typically granted to preserve land in its natural state. If you own land and grant a conservation easement, you might agree not to develop or alter the land in exchange for certain tax benefits or environmental protections. The land remains yours, but the easement restricts certain uses of it. Now that you know some of the common types of easements, it's important to understand how easements can impact property transactions. If you're buying a property, an easement could affect how you plan to use or develop it. For example, if there's a utility easement, you might not be able to build a fence or structure where the easement runs. Similarly, if a neighbor has a right-of-way easement across the property, you'll need to respect their access rights. If you're selling property, you'll need to disclose any easements to potential buyers. Easements are part of the public record, and a buyer could back out of a sale if they find an undisclosed easement that affects how they want to use the property. In some cases, easements can be negotiated or modified. For example, if a utility easement prevents you from building a structure where you'd like, you might be able to work with the utility company to relocate the lines or pipes. However, this can be a complicated process, and it's best to consult with an attorney or real estate professional. To summarize, easements are an important part of real estate that can impact your property rights, how you use your land, and your ability to sell or develop it. Whether you're buying, selling, or simply owning property, it's crucial to understand any easements that apply to your land. If you have questions about easements, or if you're dealing with an issue related to an easement, feel free to reach out for professional advice.